Welcome. This is The Jersey Doesn't Come Off. My name is Freddie Goodman, and I have here with me.
Connor Johnson.
And if you're listening, you might notice that we're a little light today. Donovan could not make today. He's slaving away at work. He's getting the big bucks, folks. He's getting the big bucks.
He's being the man of the
And if
podcast
you
this
missed
week.
the, indeed, indeed. And if you missed us last week, we were away taking the time to celebrate the holiday with our families, but we're back. So Connor, how was your holiday?
It was cool. My dad had off for half the week, so we were able to spend time as a foursome with me, my sister, and my parents. It was fun. We watched me and my dad watched Coach Carter. Had a lot of fun with that. My dad is
Nice,
now
nice.
watching his first anime series with my sister, and he's not like absolutely creeped
Ooh.
out or like terrified by it. So I think we got him. I think he's hooked. They started watching Death Note, so they're
Oh,
about a season in. Right?
wow. Yo, you know how hard it is to get an older person to watch any anime, but a classic even like Death Note?
Well, my dad's a big like mystery and detective fan, so Death Note kind of was.
Mm-hmm.
My sister sold him more on the premise to Death Note as opposed to just the anime. You know, like if it was just Brian, like our boy
Got you.
Brian, we'd just be like, "Hey, bro, it's an anime," and he'd be all over it. But my dad, a little more.
You'd be like sold.
Yeah, he needed a little bit more. How
Got
was your
you.
holidays, Freddie? Tell me
Got
about
you.
what you did.
Oh man, it was nice. It was nice. My kept it, pretty calm, with Corona and everything. So my mom cooked, my grandpa came over, watched the game. Uh, then Friday, I was trying to find, some stuff,
Okay,
the mall maybe.
okay.
I know you're not really supposed to go shopping, so apologize. I just
Hey
wanted to
man,
see if there was any deal.
the drip doesn't sleep, so I feel you.
Of course. Um,
So Freddie, I got a
but
question
yeah,
for you.
so that was yeah.
So I saw this on Twitter, but what goes on your second plate at Thanksgiving? Because first plate at Thanksgiving is when you try everything and see what you like. Second plate's when you go back after the stuff you like. So I gotta ask you, what's on your second plate at Thanksgiving?
Okay, so off the rip, second plate, you got to go with the sides.
Okay, I
You're
kind of
gonna
agree.
you're gonna see a whole lot of predominant sides. I'm gonna go collard greens, mac and cheese, uh, with the yams, of course.
Right,
Now, depending on how the ham was, I might go with the ham.
okay,
Then I'm gonna go get me a roll, right? And
right.
that's probably what I'm gonna rock with because let's be real. The turkey isn't, despite it being the main event, it's not really the main event on that second plate.
Ooh, okay. Uh,
What about you though?
Okay, so first plate, I go light on a lot, and I kind of get like the sample plate. Second plate, I go a little heavier, and I focus more on not necessarily focus on the gravy, but I kind of want the gravy to be this like the
Mm-hmm.
main player at the second table or at the second plate. So I like to go with a bit of turkey and then some stuffing, mashed potatoes, corn with
Mm.
like gravy all around it. Because I'm a
Mm.
big gravy fan, and it's not something I eat a ton. So I want it on like as much different kind of stuff as like I can. Like I'd throw gravy on
Of
some sweet
course.
potatoes if I had some good sweet potatoes, you know?
Ooh.
I just think that would work.
Ooh.
Right, so that's my plate. That's my second plate.
As you should. As you should.
Speaking of second
You
plates,
know.
looks like there's gonna be a second plate of games that were scheduled on Thanksgiving still to be played. So as of right now, the Ravens and the Pittsburgh Steelers, Freddie's team, as this podcast knows, they're currently scheduled to play
Of course.
Wednesday at 3:40, right before the Christmas tree goes up in New York City, which is pretty funny to me. So, do you think this game's
Yeah,
getting
man.
played?
Um, Yo, people have been talking all week, really since the game got canceled, about how Roger Goodell is handling this entire thing like a government official, basically.
Right.
I mean, if you had Corona last week, I would assume that you have Corona this week. So I don't even know if it's going to get played. Um, I mean, Steelers having a bye week. I don't know if the game gets played because so Lamar had corona if I'm not mistaken.
Correct.
Um,
I believe
I would assume that
16 different
what
players in the Ravens were close contact or caught it. I'm not sure. They had 16 players on that COVID list, I believe, as of the other night.
see now I don't know what the all the rich folk have access to, but I'll share a story in relation to this. Right, so about the week of the 20th being on that Friday.
This of November?
Um,
Okay.
yeah. So about I want to say like maybe a week and a half or so ago, um, going over to a friend of mine's house. Now,
Okay.
granted, everybody was clean, or so I
Assumed. Assumed,
thought.
yeah.
Going over to a friend of mine's house, group of friends of mine come out as I'm going in. I dap them up, take a
Mm-hmm.
minute to chop it up with them, dap one of my boys up again, go into my friend's house, dap them up, da da da,
Yeah.
do
Do what you
boom.
got to do.
Then, of course, 2 days later, get a call from one of my friends who I dapped up as I was entering my friend's house.
Oh, boy.
Tells me he was just playing ball with a friend of his that had corona. So now he's telling me, I'm telling the rest of our friend group, we're all scrambling to try and get a test.
Oh,
Then we
wow.
have to, so we get tested that Friday, right? Yeah. Tested that Friday. Everybody's a nervous wreck until we start getting the results in. Results come about for me late Tuesday evening.
Okay.
Some of my other friends got theirs Wednesday and then Thursday. So us being regular, like it was a blessing for us to be in contact with each other like that, and all of our tests came up negative.
Oh, wow. They all came up
When you're
negative. That's
playing
impressive.
foot,
That's incredible.
all came up negative.
Oh, wow.
Thank
Okay.
bro, that's what I'm saying. Now in the NFL, I don't know how, like you're in the locker room with somebody. Now I'm just dapping somebody up. You're in the locker room. You're doing much more than just dapping somebody up in that locker room.
Right.
And you're also sweating on each other, hitting each other, stuff like that. Like
Yeah, I see what you're
I
saying.
I feel like at least yeah, and it doesn't take much for this virus to spread. If you're in contact, if you're in the vicinity of that person for 15 minutes, chances are you got it. So these 16 players, I mean, I don't know if all 16 will come up negative. I feel like somebody's going to come up uh positive. Like I feel like at least 3, 4 people are going to come up positive, and then you also got to wonder about the false positives that are going to come out of this and the false negatives and stuff like that.
Yeah, that's
So
an
I
interesting
don't
thing.
with so with all that to say, man, I just I think that I don't think that the game happens. I think that they might have to postpone it again. Um, which I feel like when we played them the first time, it really came down to the wire. If Minka doesn't knock that ball out, we might
hmm
lose that game.
that was
So
one of
I
my favorite
think,
games all year was that first Ravens Steelers game, and I was very excited
mm-hmm,
for the second one. It was probably I'll be honest, it was the only game I was looking forward to on Thanksgiving this year. And them not playing it,
me
I
as
was
well.
upset, but I thought it was I guess, the smart choice. At this point, at
Definitely.
this point, I don't know if either side's really to blame for this. I know I follow a lot of Ravens and Steelers fans on Twitter, and they were going back and forth, making fun of each other for catching viruses and stuff. And I don't know what happened. If there was a situation where like the Ravens weren't using their masks and being careless, and that's why it happened, then yeah, I understand that. But otherwise, it just there's only one team in the NFL this year, and that hasn't had a case, and that's the Seahawks. And a lot of that may just have to be
Mm-hmm.
the fact that they're very isolated from the rest of the league. I don't know how much that has to do with it, but that is something to think about. You see all these teams on the East Coast that are having a lot of breakouts, and they're all traveling a lot closer to each other. I don't know how much that has to do with it, but it could be a part of it. But I'm looking at the COVID list for the Ravens right now, and if the game does being played tomorrow, they're going to be without players like Calais Campbell, without Jackson, as people know, without Jalen Ferguson, without
Mm-hmm.
Tavon Young. They won't be without Judon, Sneed, or Mark Andrews. So I hate to say this, but this is not the Ravens Steelers game that everybody wanted to see. Like,
It's not.
oh, that's nice to know. Anyway, like I'm a bit like
Right.
me and Donovan are Eagles fans, and every year when we play the Cowboys, we don't want to play the Cowboys when the Cowboys are all hurt and none of the players are there. Like we want to beat Dak, we want to beat Zeke, we want to beat Amari Cooper, we want to beat those guys. And I'm sure you're the same way. You want to beat
Mm-hmm.
Lamar, you want to beat Juju and Connor and T.J. Watt and all those defenders they have. You guys want to kick the crap out of them. I know how you guys are.
Exactly. I mean, come on, son. Like, if you beat something that's already broken down, it's like, well, what did you expect? You
No,
know,
it
like
invalidates it in a way.
nobody is. Yeah, like I want to, as a competitor, you want to go up against the best while they're at their best. You want to
Exactly.
see where your game is at. You don't want to go up against the best when they're out the league halfway, and you know what I'm saying? It's kind of
Absolutely.
like if I yeah, like you don't want that right now. And I mean, if all of those people are going to be out for this game, I don't I mean, yeah, I'll watch it, but it's not like I'm going to be like, "Oh, yeah, this is the
It's
best."
not
Cuz
the
it's
same.
like, "Bro, this is a broken down, yeah, it's a
Right.
broken down Ravens team." Like, and we know, and TJ, TJ is he's playing out of his mind this year. So I want to see him. I want to see that D line up against you know a good Lamar Jackson, a good Ravens O line. I want to
Absolutely.
see a good Ravens D line going up against Big Ben and Chase Claypool, and
You want all
it's
of it.
not the same.
You want them full
So
strength. You want the rivalry to be at its best. I completely agree. And
yeah, man.
like I said, this year the NFC East, all the teams are not playing well and not hurt, and the division games have been different. Like definitely without the fans, obviously, but they've just been different games. And it's I think that
Yeah.
has, like I said, that has to do with the injuries. We want all these good players in the league to play. Like I want the Cowboys to have all their players so that when the Eagles beat them, it means something. And you're the same way with the Steelers, and the Ravens fans are hopefully the same way with the Steelers. And I think every team in the league wants to beat their rivals at the best, and that's a interesting part of fandom that we're expected to cheer and like we always cheer when our team wins, but we also kind of appreciate those wins over really good teams or really healthy teams a lot more in a way, you know?
Hmm.
Like for
Of
example,
course,
I
man.
remember a few years ago when I think this is Dak Prescott and Carson Wentz's rookie year, so 2016. The Steelers and the Cowboys had an
Hmm.
incredible game. I think there was 4 or 5 lead changes at the end of the game in the last 4 minutes alone, and Steelers fans will probably know it was the game that Roethlisberger had the fake spike that went to Antonio Brown that won the game. That game
Yep.
was
Yep.
incredible. That was the Cowboys at their best playing physical downhill football, and the Steelers using their vertical passing with their receivers and running backs. It was a perfect and a great game in a way because every team was healthy and doing what they do best. That's when the games are great, and you're dead right about what you've been saying with the I guess cheapening of the win over the Ravens if the Steelers do beat them this week.
No, 100%, man. 100%. And but hey, you know what? Even if we don't get that game, we had a hell of a game when Mahomes went up against Brady yesterday.
Oh, it's Freddie, you beat me to the segue. I was going to say, speaking of the best, we had Brady and Mahomes. But you're dead right. That was a fun game. Did you get to watch all of it?
I did, and you know, Mahomes lighting him up for 17 off the rip. Mm,
Tyreek Hill. Do you think Tyreek
wow,
Hill's the
that
best
is
receiver in the league right now?
nah, D Hop. Oh my God, D Hop for sure. But see, so when we were talking about this before, Um, I definitely said D Hop, and I stay with D Hop.
Okay.
There are some people who you can make an argument for that it's like I'm not livid at that. Like if somebody said, "Oh, Tyreek Hill," I'm not livid at you saying Tyreek Hill. I would still go D Hop because I mean, fam, do you see the catch he had with the Jordan glove and the
That was
priceless
awesome.
image, priceless. Yeah, and he's been doing stuff. He's just been doing incredible stuff all season long, man. I'm going D Hop all the way.
All right.
But
So
this, yeah, continue.
I'll say talent wise, I think Hopkins or probably Julio Jones is the best receiver in the league. But the reason
Mm-hmm.
I say
Not mad at that
the
either.
reason I say Hill is the best is just because of how he's used and how the fact that he has Mahomes on his team. And I know that may skew it a little bit, but quarterbacks in a
Mm-hmm.
way make receivers when it comes to their production. Like they're not running backs where they can just get handed the ball. They kind of have to be fed the ball one way or another. And it's a
Definitely.
lot of times receivers fit perfectly or really well with quarterbacks. Like look at DK Metcalf for
Mm-hmm.
the Seahawks. He's in a perfect situation
Mm-hmm.
because he's a deep ball runner and he's a slant and a go route guy. That's what Russell Wilson throws
Mm-hmm.
the best, and that's what they play. So you could have DK Metcalf on another team, but if they don't use him right and they don't use him the way he's like built to be used, he's going to be ineffective. And it would be unfair to call him a bad wide receiver, especially since we see what he can do now. And so that's why I think the
Mm-hmm.
usage of the receiver added to their natural talent is what makes Tyreek Hill probably a little more valuable than Hopkins. Because I think Hopkins is a guy you can put on any team and
Mm.
he's going to get open. And if the quarterback gets him the ball, he's going to put up catches and numbers. I don't know Hill's that guy. So I
So yeah, so wouldn't you even be able to use that to argue for D Hop because
no,
he's
you're right.
not just like a system guy. Like you can, for if the Steelers had D Hop, I mean we're already undefeated. But like
Right, right.
we're,
Well,
I think there'd be even less of a question of us going to the chip.
my point was yeah, you're right about what you're saying. Is my point sounds a little weird, but my point is I think talent wise, Dustin or not Dustin, DeAndre Hopkins is the best receiver in the league. But if you consider production
Yeah.
is what makes the player the best in the league, hypothetically, if that's what you base it on, then Ty would say Tyreek Hill's the best in
Mm-hmm.
the league. That's what my point was. So it's kind of the two ways of because
Got you. Got you. I see what
you
you're
could
saying.
say hypothetically James Harden's the best offensive player in the NBA because he puts up the most points,
Mm-hmm.
But you could also say somebody like Steph Curry or Durant is the best offensive player in the league because they have the most talent and they have the most efficiency. So that's the argument. I was trying to make both sides of it.
Mm. No, I see that 100%. 100%.
So what were your
Um,
takeaways from that Brady Mahomes game? Getting back to that.
my takeaways are, you know, every week you just see how cool Mahomes is
It's
under
wild to
pressure.
watch. He's
And you
he's
see
he's amazing.
how he is this young playing this well and he's just this calm about it. Like my takeaway honestly was that, you know, it's looking like he could be the MVP this season. I know I had an MVP take that wasn't Mahomes.
Mm-hmm.
Don't go back and listen to that because I'm changing my mind. But I'm going. I like Mahomes honestly as MVP, and I think it's going to be crazy because you know in the years to come, like he's just going to keep getting better,
Right.
and it's going to be at a point where I think the baton, like the torch, is going to be passed
You could you could
maybe
say it's been passed
to
already.
him.
It's already been passed, in my
Yeah,
opinion.
hot maybe hot take that's not scalding hot is
I
might be getting past the Mahomes, you know what I'm saying?
I
If you
yeah.
feel otherwise, cuz I mean that you look at that, but also too my other takeaway from the game is that um the Bucks are they're slowly getting it together. Like they
I was
looked a
thinking the same
lot
thing.
better, of
I
course,
was
in the
thinking the
second
same
half.
thing. Oh man, I I think
And
good. I'll let you make your point while I'm making up mine.
yeah, man, like second half of the game, they were starting to get it together a little bit better. I think if they were able to shut some things down in that first quarter when Mahomes ran it up,
Okay.
uh, the game could have even potentially gone another way because this was a close game. You know, I
Uh,
was within like what 10 points.
it may
Um,
have ended that way, but
you
it felt like it was more all game, didn't it?
Yeah, but see, that's what I'm saying. Like, I mean, close, like towards the end, like
Right.
it was looking like had you know things gone a little bit differently, and Brady was able to get back out there. Like that kind of close, not like quite literally close, but I think that this season, I definitely thought that you were kind of crazy for saying that the Bucks weren't going to make it out of the South, and now I can kind of see that. Like they're getting it together. Um, I don't know if they'll be able to get it together in time, especially with the Antonio Brown edition.
Okay.
Um, by in time enough to like really make things threatening for Drew Brees and Michael Thomas. So I think I think maybe next year. You know what I'm saying?
Only issue with next year is Brady's in
Oh,
his early 40s already, and this may be it for him for all we know. And I think especially look at the Eagles and the Falcons now. Is this is a team where, or sorry, the NFL's in a place where if your team has the ability to win the Super Bowl one year, and you're in the playoffs and you're in the title game or in the Super Bowl, you got to win it because you just may not be back. And you look how quickly teams are falling
mm-hmm,
apart in the NFL. And if I'm the Buccaneers, I'm definitely like a fan of them. I'm definitely excited for how the team can look, but and then again, I also don't want to be unfair and say the team should be better by now because this is a whole new system, a bunch of new players, no off season with COVID and everything. So it's definitely a lot to worry about, and it's definitely a lot to like hope that they get together. Now, since the Eagles are out of the playoffs this year, I'm definitely not picking
mm-hmm.
a new team to follow by any means. But there's definitely teams I'm interested in, and watching the Buccaneers is for sure one of them. So if you had to pick a team from the NFC that you think's going to come out of the playoffs and be in the Super Bowl, who would you pick right now with about a month left in the season?
Oh man.
Give me a Super Bowl matchup. How about that?
Mm. Okay, so I think it's kind of low key between the Saints and the Packers, like for who makes it out. Um, and then us. I feel like the Steelers are gonna be there because everybody's like, "Oh, well,
I
y'all
can.
aren't gonna make it." Da da da. But
Okay.
it's like, I mean, listen. I think okay, Packers 8-3,
Yeah.
right? Top of the AFC, NFC North, excuse me.
Yeah.
Um, NFC South, Saints are running it. Um, I don't. I mean, and then you look at the East and the West, and it's the East is not good, and then the West is like, could be better, could be worse. Um, I feel like it's got. I think it's between them. And I think honestly, I don't know who wins that because it's like if it ends up being Saints Steelers, then
Ooh, that'd be a tough. That'd be a good matchup.
it's an that's tough. Like I really, really want to see that. Um, if it's Packers, it's a little that's still interesting. And seeing Aaron Rodgers back in it would be I like that. I like that. So I think that's my matchup right now.
My pick. is
What about you?
my pick. I think my pick is going to be,
It's
yeah, it
hard.
is hard. I think it's going to be the Chiefs, and I think it's going to be the Saints, and I think the Chiefs win. I think the
Mm.
Chiefs win, and I think this might be it for Drew Brees and the Saints. I think they'll still be decent. I think this might be it with Drew Brees, though, especially if they're seeing that Taysom Hill and or
Think he's gonna
Jason.
retire?
I just, I think so, but I also could see the Saints saying, "Dude, we have Taysom Hill. He makes us a little more of a dynamic team with his running ability. Uh, he can still throw the short slants just as good as you, or almost as good as you. Like, why pay Drew Brees at that point if you have Winston and you have Taysom Hill on the team already? You know, we've
Got
seen
you.
Drew Brees the last 3 years not get it done in the playoffs. Not to mention all the years before that, he's not a great playoff quarterback.
That's what I'm. That's part of the reason why I had said Packers because you know regular Saints are very similar to the Rockets. They'll kill you in the regular
Yeah,
season. Once that postseason comes around, you will
they're
not see them
they
pass
can. It looks like they
second.
can be figured
You
out for
know,
a game in the same way the
yeah.
Ravens can. The Ravens, I think, are really good in the regular season and in regular seasons, just because it's tough to game plan for Lamar Jackson in 1 week when team's not ready. It's like like there's a lot of teams that can't really game plan for one guy that well for a week, and if you're in the playoffs, you're a pretty good team and you're pretty well coached, so you can figure something out to stop a Lamar Jackson or Kamara in a game.
Mm-hmm. No, 100%,
But I'm picking the
100%,
Chiefs. I think it'll be Steelers Chiefs in the title game, and I think it'll
for
be a close
sure.
game. I just think I don't know how great the corners are for the Steelers. I don't I literally don't know. I know
Mm-hmm.
you have Joe Hayden. I know you have Fitzpatrick, who's a safety, but I just
Yeah,
think the Chiefs are just on another level, even above the Steelers. I mean, I think one game especially, anybody can beat anybody, and I think the Steelers are capable of beating the Chiefs. But I guess it'll just come down to who makes a mistake or who stops somebody. I think that's how close they are, honestly. And I
I
think that's how
agree.
the
I
NFL is going to be
think
moving forward. Is there's going to be the Chiefs, and every year or so there's going to be probably one or two teams that are close to them, and it'll just be a matter of whether or not they can beat the Chiefs on that day. I think it's similar way to Brady when it
see
comes to the Super Bowl. You know.
I was just gonna say, every year when Brady was on the
Mm-hmm.
Pats, it was like, okay, it's gonna be potentially the Pats and who else? And
Right.
then you got these other two teams in that conference who are like lighting it up. And then you got, so I would agree. And also too the matchup between the Chiefs and the Steelers is it's pretty even.
Mm-hmm.
Mahomes has a great arm. He can run the ball really well.
You can do
And
everything.
he also has and he has a slew of offensive weapons.
Too many.
But
Too many. You
same,
gotta relax.
yeah. And you can even argue the same thing with Ben. So
Absolutely.
Ben's got a bunch of offensive weapons. Like I was saying, man, earlier on in the earlier episodes, like at that point in time, it was like every game you had a new offensive lineman just lighting it up, and like they just took over the game. So even if like Chase Claypool isn't playing his best, James Washington is going to be killing you.
Deontay
Okay,
Johnson
James
or
Washington isn't.
yeah, I see what you're saying. You got options.
Yeah, or Juju.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and it's the same thing with Mahomes. Like, okay, you got Le'Veon. Oh, Le'Veon's not putting in work. Okay, you got Tyreek. He's not putting in work. Okay, you got Travis Kelsey. Like, you know what I'm saying? So I think it's going to be a pretty even matchup, and I think it definitely comes down to whoever makes a mistake first. And there was a game where Big Ben, I believe it was the Titans game where he just felt like he wanted to play for the Titans in the second half, and then our offensive line had to save him. So I think if he has a game like that, oh, we're done for. But if he can hold it together, like, mentally, then we're good. Because, like you said, it's going to come down to whoever makes the mistake first.
Yeah, that's a great point to make about how close the Chiefs and Steelers are. And speaking about mistakes, Freddie, why didn't Nate Robinson do any like defensive drills for boxing?
Man,
Why
I was
didn't he do
watching
any?
that
Why
fight
didn't What was he thinking?
wondering the
The
same
man
thing.
had Floyd Mayweather
I
teach
don't
him how to
know.
box and decided to just skip all the defensive drills. Isn't that what Floyd's like
I w-
pretty much all he does?
Floyd is a predominantly defensive boxer. His defense is, as Mike Tyson would say, impregnable.
Yeah,
This man, like,
he
you
was
can't get a hold of
he
him,
was helping
and
Coach Robinson, right?
you're not knocking Floyd
No,
out.
he didn't even knock him down.
Yeah, if I'm not mistaken, so I think you know I was talking with a friend of mine about
Right.
this because while we were watching the fight, and I think it comes down to like, okay, I think it just comes down to experience, honestly. Like, but if I'm Nate Robinson, I tell you what, if I was just talking crazy, calling out Jake Paul,
Oh.
and then we're talking about boxing, the minute the word boxing is mentioned between me and him, I'm training every single day from that moment on, and I'm working on footwork, conditioning,
Mm-hmm.
um, all the little things. I'm watching film religiously, trying to break down his game. Trying, you know what I'm
Right,
saying?
right.
Because you when you are going up against somebody with more experience than you have
Got to
to
be the defensive
do
one.
everything you can to, yeah, you have to add to your, do anything you can to add to your own uh repertoire or whatever.
Okay.
And I don't know if Nate did that. Like, when Nate got knocked out, it looked like he was just focused on trying to land a hit. And I think my brother had said he threw 47 punches and like little bit less than half of those punches had landed.
Okay.
Something crazy like
Okay.
that.
Oh man.
I think he was yeah, I think he was just looking for a knockout way too much. Like, boxing isn't all about that.
No.
It's about body shots.
Got to
It's
set him up.
about tiring your opponent out.
Yeah, it's like chess.
Yeah, making them work. Exactly. Very much so like chess. I think if you just go in trying to look for the easy knockout, you're setting yourself up for failure
Mm-hmm.
because in order to get to that knockout point, you have to see the opening. And that opening gets a little bit wider and it gets wider as the fight goes on and your opponent gets a little bit more tired. And to be going up against somebody who knows how to fight and like what they're doing, um, that should be your game plan, is grappling, trying to wear him out, trying to wear him out. I
You
mean,
got to think Nate
you
Robinson's
know,
probably the better athlete, and like arguably could say he's better conditioned than Jake Paul. It's like Jake Paul may have a
exactly.
fight like under his belt, but like Nate Robinson was playing professional sports like a year and a half ago. He should still be in really good shape. And you're dead right. And I think I forget who said this, but somebody made a great point. If you're going to be in a celebrity boxing match, no one's going to give a fuck if you win or lose, but somebody's going to care if you get knocked out. And that's got to be the number one goal of anybody going into any type of celebrity or professional athlete like non-professional boxing fight is your goal should just be to not get
Hmm.
knocked out. Because
Exactly.
nobody remembers who
And
Jake Paul beat in his first fight, but everybody's going to remember the Nate Robinson thing.
oh, are you
Like that's
kidding me?
never going to pass him.
Exactly.
Nate Robinson was just like the shortest guy to ever win a dunk contest, I think, or one of them, and no one's ever going to remember that for him now.
it's gonna
He's gonna
be
be
like,
knocked
oh,
out.
Nate
He's knocked
Robinson.
out by a
Wait,
white
that
boy.
guy that got knocked out played Yeah,
Right.
the guy that got knocked out played basketball. Are you
Yeah.
serious? Since when?
Yeah. And I think that fight set the tone for the Tyson fight. I know we're going to talk about both of them. I figured I'd transition us here. I think Roy Jones Jr. saw
Of
that
course.
and was like, "Yeah, I ain't letting that happen to me either," and just hugged him and just looked and like just hugged him and didn't do anything. There's 2 minute rounds. There's what 8 rounds. Roy Jones Jr. knows he's like, "All right, go out, throw a
Hmm.
few punches. If Tyson gets in control of me, I'm just going to lock him up and just ride this thing out. We're each going to collect our few million or whatever." Like Jones Jr., if that Nate
Exactly.
Robinson fight doesn't go like that, those guys might have went a lot harder at each other, especially Jones Jr. Because I think Tyson brought it.
But
Tyson looked
see,
good.
oh, 100%. But see, the thing is, like, so back when Roy Jones was in his prime, he had a very unorthodox boxing style,
Okay.
very similar to how people were saying the way that Mike Vick and now Lamar Jackson play quarterback. That style isn't going to work, and then we saw it work with Mike Vick. And if he makes a couple of adjustments, like we've said, it'll work with Lamar. Um, you know,
Hmm.
Roy Jones, like he knows what he's up against, and he knows the type of fighter that Tyson is. But the thing is too, like within the fights, because the rounds are so short, the minute that you kind of figure out your opponent's game for that round, and you're like, oh, okay, I see what they're trying to do.
Yeah.
Now you're hearing the bell ring, so then that kind of throws you out your rhythm. Also too, like I said, Roy Jones, he's been around for a minute. He knew how Mike was gonna come at this. Um, I think that he knew early on, okay, yeah, I gotta hug him and I gotta just keep trying to
Right.
get my shots
I
off
can't get knocked out
because
by this dude.
Mike, yeah, because I mean, fam, if you have two fights, two like really high profile
Hmm.
fights where y'all are getting knocked out, mind you, you're getting knocked out for charity. This is an exhibition fight.
Right. There's no
That's
knockouts too.
crazy.
There's no knockouts like in the rules apparently.
Yeah. See, and I thought that this was gonna be they were gonna have headgear and everything. So I was kind of surprised when they came out no
Surprising, you're right that
headgear.
they didn't.
But I mean, it is what it is. But Mike Tyson,
I want to see
so for
Tyson
those
fight
who
more.
don't know, I do too. At 50, like at 54, and Tyson said, we have the big three league. He said, there should be more leagues of like older dudes who played or fought and they did their athletic profession,
Right.
and now you're retired and now you're, playing with other older dudes. He said there should be more of that. And he said that he wants to get an older league for like dudes to fight in,
That'd be interesting.
so I'd like to see, yeah, and I mean, who wouldn't want to see another Evander Holyfield him matchup, especially
I'd
because
love to watch that. Yeah. I love
right,
boxing. I don't
like
watch enough of it, but when it's on and like there's a big fight, I get really into it.
me too, man, for real. And I think you know Tyson. I wanted to say too, for the folks who don't know about the type of person that Mike Tyson was, after Cus D'Amato died and he went through all of those situations that he had gone through, like
Hmm.
jail and being ostracized by society and stuff like that, the drugs. After he had came out of that, he said it himself. At tail end of his career, he wasn't fighting to win. He didn't have the same heart for it. He was just fighting because he needed the money. And then he went, got his head on straight, cleaned himself up. And so now we're looking at what might have been had Tyson been together at that point in time at
Hmm.
the tail end of his career. So even I even tweeted this, I think that Tyson wants to he's gonna want to fight again. Like he was bouncing around so much at the end of that fight. He was like, yo, when's the next one? Because he's once again he said it himself.
Hmm.
This is all he was made to do was fight.
Yeah.
He has studied this extensively. He studied war. All bro, like you think so you what do you think? You think like Who do you like? Do you think Tyson fights again after this?
I Yeah, I do. I think somebody's going to want to fight him. I hope he doesn't fight somebody like 20 years younger
Mm-hmm.
than him because that could get bad. But
Definitely.
I don't know who I'd even really want to see him fight. I'll be honest.
It's hard because, like you said, you want to pick somebody in his age range, more or less. But it's like, who's there, you know? Because, like you were saying, man, like if when boxing is on, it's like a high profile fight.
It's
Yeah, I'm gonna
awesome.
try to watch it
It's
for sure.
awesome.
But oh my god! And then when you look at the younger dudes who are fighting, like Javante Tank Davis,
Hmm.
uh,
Oh,
Tyson Fury,
I love watching Tyson
all
Fury.
those dudes, like yeah, like it's just so I love it, but I don't watch enough, and trying to catch up on some of the older fights and the dudes who are fighting with Tyson.
Right.
I'll be honest, I'm not as well versed as I probably could to know who else should be fighting Tyson, but I agree, man. I'd love to see him fight again.
I think that's a great way to end off this week, Freddie. I think we had a good little chat here. Good
Me
little
too,
comeback episode. I think this was one of our better recording sessions. We're definitely going to be trying to
for
get more
sure.
content out more every week and potentially a second episode every week. Freddie, I think you have an announcement to make about our boy Donovan before we sign off.
I do. I just want to give a special shout out and congratulations to Donovan, our co host, for extending his contract with his job to another 3 years.
You're
I don't know the legal ramifications, so I'm not going to say exactly where he's working, but
we're proud of
he's
him.
out here working. Contract just got extended.
Oh yeah,
Price just went up. Y'all better send the invoice immediately. You dig?
exactly. Donovan's getting his zeros and his checks, and me and Freddie are still job searching and envious of hell of our boy. We're very proud of you, Donovan.
Yes,
When you listen to
sir.
this, man, we're excited to do the podcast with you, buddy, man. We love you and we're happy to hear for you, buddy. Want you to know that. I also want to shout out to the Velez
Definitely.
family. We went to school with their boy Brian. They're dealing with a loss in the family this week. We just want to say we're thinking about you guys. We're praying for you guys, and everything's going to be fixed and helped out all right for you guys. We just want you to know we love you and want you to know the podcast is thinking about you guys. Freddie, you got any
Of
final
course,
words to
man. We're
say?
sending our love to you. Yeah, man. I just want to say too toward Brian, man. The whole Velez family. We're sending our love, thoughts, prayers, condolences, the whole nine.
All right, man. You want to sign off or you want me to get it?
No, you got it,
All
man.
right, this has been the Jersey Doesn't Come Off, episode 9. Me and Freddie here talked a little NFL, a little Mike Tyson, a little boxing. Join us probably next week or coming up for a college basketball preview. And we're going to be doing an NFL preview and a top 10 albums of the year coming out soon. So look forward to that. We should have those out for you by the end of the year. Join us next week. Should
Definitely.
have Donovan and should have Freddie, should have me, should have everybody, and should be good to go. All right, this is Connor Johnson signing
For
off.
sure.
Have a good night, everybody.
And Freddie Goodman.